But anyway, they dug up Noah's wife, and she was a giant individual. Her sarcophagus is 18 feet in length, and it's stored in the Anatolia Museum in Ankara.
High above the clouds, where the air thins and the ground hardens into ancient stone, Mount Ararat rises like a monument to forgotten time. For centuries, this mountain has carried a secret whispered in scriptures, legends, and forbidden conversations. Many believed the truth would never be uncovered. Others feared that if it ever was, it would challenge everything humanity thought it knew about its past. Shortly before his death, Ron Wyatt, an explorer known for walking where few dared, hinted that his most disturbing discovery was not something the world was ready to hear. He claimed that what lay hidden within the remains of Noah's Ark was far more profound than wood, bones, or relics. It was evidence of a world before judgment, preserved in silence. And according to those closest to him, Wyatt believed this discovery would terrify the modern world, not because of what it proved, but because of what it implied. Before we go any further, if you're fascinated by ancient mysteries, biblical archaeology, and discoveries that challenge history itself, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. It helps us continue exploring stories the world has tried to forget.
If you've been watching the news, then I'm sure you've seen all of these stories about people out in Turkey that are doing this new work, and they're claiming that maybe it will prove that this site is Noah's Ark. Well, the fact of the matter is that it was proven to be Noah's Ark a long time ago. And what they are wanting to do was the very first thing that Ron did back in 1979. In 1979,
To understand why Ron Wyatt's claims carried such weight, we must return to the beginning, to a world the Bible describes as brilliant, violent, advanced, and utterly corrupt. The book of Genesis presents a civilization that had drifted so far from divine order that destruction became inevitable. Noah stood alone in that age. A righteous man in a world that mocked righteousness, he received instructions that defied logic and experience. Rain had never fallen from the sky, yet he was told to prepare for a flood that would erase everything. The ark was not described as a mythic vessel, but as a carefully engineered structure with exact dimensions, internal compartments, and multiple decks. It was a preservation chamber, a floating archive of life itself. Every measurement mattered. Every room served a purpose. What most people never ask is this: if God instructed Noah to preserve life, what traces of that mission might still remain inside the ark, if the ark survived? After the floodwaters receded and the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat, Scripture grows quiet. We are told about a covenant, a rainbow, and a new beginning, but nothing about the ark's fate. Was it dismantled? Did it decay? Or was it sealed by nature itself, hidden until a future generation would find it? That silence has fueled centuries of speculation, and it was that silence that drew Ron Wyatt to Turkey, convinced that the absence of explanation meant the story was not finished. In the mid-20th century, a Turkish military pilot noticed something strange during an aerial survey. Embedded in the mountainside was a massive boat-shaped formation, 538 feet long, eerily consistent with the biblical measurements of the ark. The area locals called Durupanar had long been avoided. Some said the ground felt wrong. Others claimed animals refused to graze there. The mountain itself was protected, off-limits to excavation. Scientists dismissed it as a natural formation. Media crews came and went. Interest faded, but Ron Wyatt did not forget. Wyatt arrived not as a tourist, but as a man convinced history had been deliberately misunderstood. He studied the terrain, the soil, the strange symmetry of the formation. Then, according to his own account, he prayed, not for proof, but for access. Months later, an earthquake shook the region. When Wyatt returned, the mountain had changed. The hardened volcanic soil had cracked open along the length of the formation, exposing deep fissures that ran like ribs beneath the surface. This was not random erosion. It looked structured, intentional. Wyatt believed the mountain itself had begun to give up its secret. As the earth loosened, fragments broke away from the formation. Some of these pieces, when examined, appeared to be petrified wood, organic material transformed into stone by intense heat and pressure. Mount Ararat, an ancient volcano, would have produced pyroclastic flows capable of instantly fossilizing wood, flesh, and waste. Wyatt theorized that the Ark had been entombed by volcanic activity shortly after the flood, preserving its contents in a stone-like state. But it was not the structure alone that unsettled him. It was what surrounded it. Scattered around the formation were deposits that, upon examination, appeared to be fossilized animal waste. This alone was strange, but what truly disturbed researchers was that some samples did not match any known species native to the region, either ancient or modern. Wyatt believed these remnants pointed to animals housed temporarily, not naturally dwelling there. Creatures brought from distant lands. Creatures preserved not by evolution, but by obedience. And if waste existed, then life had existed inside. But life was not the most troubling implication. Forbidden from excavating, Wyatt turned to ground-penetrating radar. The scans revealed something no natural formation should contain: internal voids, long corridors, repeating room-like structures, vertical supports spaced with mathematical precision. Even more unsettling was the size. The interior appeared larger than expected, as though designed to maximize capacity beyond simple survival. Some sections suggested reinforced areas, stronger than others, as if meant to carry immense weight. Wyatt reportedly said very little publicly about these findings, but privately he told associates that what the Ark contained was not just animals. It was evidence of a world God chose to erase. Among the most controversial claims attributed to Wyatt was the discovery of an enormous sarcophagus, allegedly linked to Noah's family. According to accounts, it measured nearly 18 feet in length and was believed to belong to Noah's wife, a woman described as unusually large, possibly reflecting the pre-flood physiology spoken of in ancient texts. The sarcophagus was said to have been removed quietly and stored in a museum archive in Ankara, never placed on public display. No official records confirm this. No photographs exist. Only whispers. And whispers are often where the most dangerous truths hide. If Wyatt's claims were true, even partially, they would challenge modern anthropology, evolutionary timelines, and our understanding of ancient humanity. A pre-flood world of giants, advanced construction, and global biodiversity would rewrite history textbooks overnight. It would also force a terrifying question. If God judged the world once for its corruption, what prevents it from happening again? Wyatt reportedly believed the Ark was not just evidence of destruction, but of mercy. A warning preserved in stone. A message buried until humanity reached a point where it could either listen or repeat the same mistakes. In the end, Ron Wyatt never fully revealed everything he believed he found. Some say he was warned. Others say He feared ridicule would bury the truth deeper than the mountain ever could. What remains is a formation no one can fully explain. Radar data that defies natural processes, and a story that refuses to die. Whether the Durapunar site is truly Noah's Ark or not, its existence continues to unsettle scientists, believers, and skeptics alike. Because if even a fraction of Wyatt's claims are true, then the flood was not a myth. It was a reset, and the Ark was never meant to be forgotten, only hidden until the world was ready to remember. Today, Mount Ararat stands guarded, silent, and unresolved. Excavation remains forbidden. Answers remain locked beneath stone and ice. But the question lingers. What if the Ark is still there? Not as proof of a story, but as a mirror held up to humanity. And what if the most terrifying thing Ron Wyatt ever discovered wasn't what was inside the Ark, but what it says about us now? If this story made you think, question, or wonder, stay with us. There are more truths buried beneath history, and not all of them want to remain hidden.